My name's Randy, K7AGE. This is the PSK talk. I'm doing an SSTV talk 1 hour from now. I'm going to set my timer for 45 minutes, see if I can get through here. I'd love you to get out and get on to the next presentation if you're not staying for this. Welcome to SEA-PAC. This is probably my 5th or 6th year I've been up here and probably done presentations at least half of those years. I did PSK last year and the room was mobbed. We had people sitting in the aisles and everywhere. So thanks for showing up and coming in. How many here have not seen my videos? Oh my, okay, well welcome.
Go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube. I have some cards here in case you can't find me. I'm real hard to find. You just have to search for K7AGE up on YouTube. I've been posting videos there for I think 7 years now. There's about 100, about 2.7 million total views, 13,000 subscribers. I get about 15 to 20 new subscribers every day, so that's kind of amazing, I think, because ham radio is a pretty niche-y thing up on YouTube. So I'm going to talk about PSK31. I kind of stole this presentation quite a few years ago and have modified it. So I think to mark here, the original. A little bit about me. I think I was first licensed in 1968, probably when I was a sophomore in high school, and I had a novice. My dad was a ham, so he had this station, and this is before I had my novice, because I could not use that transmitter because it was VFO and well over 75 watts. But later on there was like a DX40 or something sitting in between. And I actually bought one of those little Amicos, one of those AT1s. You ever seen one of those things for $15? I should have kept that. Yeah. They go for several hundred now up on eBay. It's amazing. So I built a TV camera for electronic high school project. I met some guys at the high school where I worked, and they had a little remote company, so we did bowling shows. I think I did 6 years worth of bowling shows. I never want to see another bowling alley in my life. I worked on it with Barry here, my co-partner on those trucks for years. And then I went to school at Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York, and they had a TV studio, so I was able to work there and get hired on and get free tuition. So that was very good. And I've held 2 jobs since college. And so I started out at Grass Valley Group. Then I went over to Envision. They make video routers. They were bought by Miranda a couple years ago. I forgot one. And 2 years ago, they were bought by Belden, people who make coax. And a couple months ago, they bought Grass Valley. So we've now become one big happy family again. And I think I've got 38 years in basically between the 2 companies, but they won't count my 22 years in at GVG as part of the Belden time. Darn. Again, first YouTube videos I think was 2006. There's over 100 videos, 2.7 million total views, and over 13,000 subscribers. So I thank you to all the subscribers in the room. So what is PSK31? How many people have not used PSK31? And you want to? Good. That's why you're here. That's why I like going to the forums at the Hamfest. You learn something new and get your mojo cranked up again to do stuff. So this is nothing new. It's been around for over 15 years. In fact, last year at Dayton, I signed up to RSGB, the British version of the ARL. It was their centennial last year, and they've been reprinting some of the articles from years ago. So I opened up one of the magazines, was Peter's original PSK article, and the next article I think was the G5RV antenna article. So that was some neat stuff in there. So what makes PSK popular and its advantage? First of all, it's less bandwidth, so it takes up less room on the band, especially compared to RTTY. So less bandwidth, more stations are up on the air. Better error rate than the RTTY, especially on noisy channels. And it lends itself to low power and QRP. You kind of have to everybody shove. You have to push and shove just like the flea market.
You can get a room, you can draw this big an audience.
I mentioned that to Delvin last year, I think. So anyway, so it uses a phase shift keying, so it's not a frequency shift like on the RIDI, and it uses a special code. And I remember Wayne Green talking about this kind of years ago. If we could have some type of compression that it used the most common things to take less data and the less common things to take a little more data, well, that's what PSK does for the characters that it sends. And the thing that really exploded an awful lot of stuff is using the sound card interface that's now available in a computer basically for free or through an external box. You just have to push and shove. Because once you have your sound card interface, you're ready to go with PSK, slow scan, JT65, Whisper, and the list goes on and on. It's all the same hardware, it's just different software. And a lot of it is free, which Ham's like free because that means cheap, right? Right. So phase shift keying, what it does is that it flips the phase, and that flipping of the phase is where we're going to carry a 1 or a 0. So, and this is what it sounds like. So phase shift keying, it's not very fast. It's about 31, 32 bits per second. And this was a frequency that was derived from the clocking of the sound cards, which is built into the computer. And basically a 0 is a 180-degree phase shift, and a 1 is no phase shift. So the coding is called Vericode, and this was developed by Peter, who developed PSK. And basically the most frequent characters use fewer bits than other characters. And since we type mostly in lowercase, it uses fewer characters than if we type in uppercase. Unlike the code for the RIDI, which is always 5 bits for every character. The Vericode supports the whole ASCII character set, and it also includes upper and lower case. It includes special symbols like the @ sign, which we need for our email addresses, numbers, and punctuation, and it supports backspace. And this is really strange when you first see it on the air, where it's going backwards and removing when somebody's made a mistake. So this is a table which shows all of this. So one of the codes you use the most is the space, so that's 1 bit. If we look at a lowercase e, it uses 2 bits. If we look at an uppercase e, it uses, what's that, 7. Something like a z, uppercase z uses, that's a lot there. Looks like about 10, and things like that. And I wondered, does this really make a difference? And I think you can see here that it does. I made this video as part of my Pacificon PSK forum, and I thought I would share this with my YouTube viewers. PSK uses Vericode coding for the letters and numbers that it transmits. The most used letters, lowercase, are sent using fewer bits than uppercase. This video shows Digipan sending the same text in all lower and in all uppercase letters. The timer starts about 2 seconds before Digipan starts to send the text. You can see the difference in the time it takes to send all of the text. The difference is about 4 seconds. Don't be confused by the difference in the width of the lower and uppercase letters. That's just a font thing. There's a link in the comments to a web page about Vericode, so think about this if you're sending all your PSK31 text with the caps lock key turned on. Thanks for watching. Randy, K7AGE. I did ID, okay. I know somebody would write me up, or there's an OO in the room or something. So real world performance compared PSK to RIDI. The main thing that this is really good for PSK stuff. So you can use something like this or KX3 with 5 watts and really work a lot of stations. So if you're not a CW guy but you want to do QRP, PSK is a great way to play around.
You have a chance to play that one where we could hear the on-the-air sound again now that the audio.
We'll see that in some other stuff coming up.
Okay.
Now that I know where my sound is coming out.
Plus, I mean, you didn't have the sound of
Yeah,
anyway, if
it'll
you
come
get a
up.
chance.
Yeah, it'll be there in some other stuff. So real world performance. One of the big things, it's only 31 hertz wide versus 250 to 270, maybe 300 for the teletype. So basically, you can get about equivalent performance if you're running 100 watts on RTTY using about 8 watts on PSK. Or yeah, okay, for 100 watts for sideband, about 8 watts for RTTY, and about 1 watt for the PSK. So,
That's assuming kind of a constant noise band.
Sure.
And you're closing in on it.
yeah. So, so you can run 5 to 25 watts on PSK and not have any problems. So here's a couple spectrum displays showing the bandwidth here. This is showing about 200 hertz for the RTTY signals, and this is showing, less than 40 for the PSK signals. So you can actually get a couple of the PSKs within the same space here for the RTTY signals. So what this spectrum shows here is that we use the radio in upper sideband mode. So low frequencies are down here towards the 0 end, and the high frequencies are up here to the limit of your filter, 2.1, 2.4, whatever you can crank up your top end for. So you see the whole 2.5 kc spectrum here, because you're in a voice mode, sideband, even though we're going to be sending a digital signal. So the station requirements, basically any modern radio will work. You need something that's fairly stable. I think if it's got a digital display on the front, it'll work. It doesn't require much of a computer. Most of the software will run on your older PCs. Ham Radio Deluxe may require you to use more of a higher power computer. I'm not a HRD guy. So the ham shacks can get by with the older computers. You need some type of interface to go between the computer to the radio. So you can build your own, or you can acquire them by Visa. And this is a signal length. And they're typically downstairs here. That's about $100. Very popular. They sell a lot of them. Oops. I don't want to do that.
Do anything other than provide audio isolation?
They typically provide the push to talk to key the transmitter. So computer software, free stuff is Digipan. It's been around for, 10 plus years. It's very simple. It's only about 700K, which is nice. FL Digi is very popular now. It supports PSK and a lot of the other digital modes, and it's open source. It runs under Linux, Windows, and Mac, so that's a kind of a nice one. A lot of people use Ham Radio Deluxe, and they have the DM780 digital package with that. But that's in the $100 range, I think, if you go with them. The PC sound card interface typically provides some type of matching and isolation between the inputs and outputs for the computer. A lot of the computers now only have mic inputs versus line inputs, so you have a level difference there. So if you're coming out of your speaker output of the radio, you need to attenuate it down, and a couple resistors can show that. I have a video about sound card interfacing. It was the first one I did for Ham Nation, where I go through a lot of whiteboard stuff, and I show how a couple resistors can be used to do that. Again, you can buy commercial interfaces. You can build your own. Some of the newer radios have actually a USB sound chip built inside the radio. So instead of having a USB sound chip in the computer, then the next generation was to put it in a box, because this just takes a single USB connection. They put the sound chip inside the rig. So now it's all there. You just plug in the USB. And a lot of the radios you can do sound as well as control through the USB. So you can get the frequency display up on the computer and stuff. So control and sound are two independent things.
So ICOM's the one that does
ICOM does it, the newer YAESUs do it, the new Kenwoods do it. So pretty much the Elecraft guys don't, although they provide a line in and line out in the back of the
Isolated line.
K3, yeah, and they're isolated. They have transformers. The KX3 has a couple connectors for that. I think the Flex guys use the virtual audio patching to kind of do that.
Hi, Randy here, K7AGE. Today we're going to do an introduction to PSK31. My goal is to get you receiving
Hear that?
PSK31 in a very few minutes.
This is
Not difficult. It's
got, I don't know, 200,000 plus views. This is what gets people going on PSK. Whole things, and you should be able to receive PSK31 in about the length of time of this video. So what we're going to do here now is, I feel like Mr. Wizard. We'll go to the Digipan website. We'll download the software. We'll install it on the computer. We'll do some simple setup, simple configuration, and then be able to receive PSK31. Download Digipan 2.0 700K. Just click on that, and I'm going to save the file. Click on Open, and I get the Digipan setup window. It says this will install Digipan on your computer. It's recommended, blah, blah, blah. Close everything else, just click Next. And it says, do you want to launch Digipan? Say yes. It then opens Digipan, and it pops up this window for personal data. And in here you can put in your call sign, K7, I'll put yours in, not mine, K7AGE tab, I'm going to put my name in here, QTH, Grass, California. So now it knows a little bit about me. Going to change my window sizes here, so I'm going to bring that line up, and I'm going to bring up down here the waterfall. So this area here is the receive data. This is where I transmit, and this is where the waterfall. This is where I see the spectrum. So I need to do now, I got to hook up my audio interface for the system. So what I have here, it's all tangled up, it doesn't matter, but it's just a very simple sound card headset with a microphone. So I'm going to plug it into the microphone input here. And the audio is my FT817. So let's go ahead and turn it on. And I'll turn the volume up here. What can we hear? And we want to tune the radio to 14070 upper sideband. That's where the PSK activity will be. Here we go. We're getting close. And right there. Upper sideband 14070. Perfect day. Listen to all that activity. Now, let's zoom out. We're going to make the sound card interface to the radio. Now watch this. This is very high tech. We take the microphone, and I'm just going to put it on the speaker. If everything's working, you should have signals in the bottom down here. I still have the microphone control open here. You can see if I turn this all the way down. So let's go ahead and close this and see what's going on here. Right now, just a bunch of garbage on the screen. The radio is set at 14070. That's the very left part of the screen. Then up 1 kilocycle is 1000. So this is all the audio between almost DC and 1000 kilohertz. To tune PSK31, we don't tune the radio, we just leave it set at 14070. But since we have this audio spectrum here, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like a 6th signal there is weak. So to tune on this one over here, which apparently looks to be fairly strong, I just click in the red here, and I click at the center of the lines, and the little red box appears here, and if everything's working, we should see real text appearing in the screen. So that was pretty easy. Got a wider shot here. Somebody calling CQDX here, DE6H1 Mike Walter, Mexico station, and he dropped off. Is he getting somebody coming back to him? Yes. See, also PSK31 supports upper and lower case. So there we are. We got you to find the software, showed you how to download it, how to configure the audio, pick your soundboard, select your microphone, get the radio, the microphone near the radio, how to set the level so you see the vertical lines, all the signals in the spectrum and such. Then you just click on the line and you should be receiving. Again, you set your radio to 14070 upper sideband and you should be hearing a lot of signals. And that's that. So, just shows you can load the software and just put the microphone over by the radio and try this, either in PSK or many other different modes. You can also do the same thing now with your smartphone, both in the iPhone and the Android. You can get software. In fact, I just posted a video, I think last month, where I just take my iPad, lay it on top of the 817, and I'm receiving PSK. Just use and turn it upside down because the microphone's on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the mention says you don't tune your radio. Does that mean that all the activity is in one
Pretty much.
sideband equivalent
Yep.
chunk of RF bandwidth?
Yep.
You don't have a chunk here and another chunk over here.
Now, some guys may be a little higher, you may have to tune up, but the majority of it is within 7.0 to 7.3.
So, but I'm basically taking its suppressed carrier frequency, mapping that
Yep.
to 0 in the audio spectrum.
Yep.
You only get to go up a couple or 2.5 kilohertz or something.
But you can get a lot of stations in that 2.5 kilohertz.
Yeah.
Are they all on 20 meters?
No.
15 is good.
You probably do
Yeah,
have
I'll
to
get
tune
to
your
that, yeah.
radio to get to the other one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
That's what memories are for. Yeah.
Just being goofy.
So anyway, the station setup is really pretty simple. Typically a line in and a line out. With the older computers, now it's mic in and a line or a speaker output. Goes through some type of audio interface. A lot of guys, and I've started using Vox more on the radio, so I don't have to derive a push-to-talk signal. You don't need a lot of power. And so the thing we want to be careful about is we don't want to overdrive the transmitter, because you'll splatter and you'll look awful. And we'll get to that. So the audio interfaces, well, we just showed placing the microphone of the computer by the speaker of the radio. I have received emails from guys taking the radio's microphone and putting it on the computer speaker to transmit. So that does work, but you may pick up other stuff in the room. But if you want to try it that way, you can go ahead and try that. Vox is real handy for switching, although this can be troublesome on some of the radios, because some radios, if you connect into the back, they don't allow Vox to work. If you connect into the microphone jack on the front and you turn the Vox on, the Vox will work. So, and I'm not sure if that's usually described in the manual. So I know the ICOMs, I think, do not allow the Vox from the audio connector that's on the rear of the radio. So the advantages here, no extra equipment. Disadvantages, okay, the transmitter levels can be a little tricky, and you don't want to, yeah, this is with the microphones, you don't want to be picking up, you know, ambient noise, your phone ringing and your phone dinging and stuff like that.
Sounds like you really don't want to use the microphone.
Nah, it's not the optimum. So it doesn't require a lot, sometimes just some capacitors to take and isolate. Transformers are real handy if you're having ground loop problems, because now the grounds are separated. Here's a resistor attenuation, so to go into the microphone input of the radio. So you got to be careful driving the line level signals into a microphone, either going from the computer to the radio or the radio to the computer.
Have you used those Radio Shack transformers?
I don't know if I have.
I wonder if they're any kind of quality, if they got a Faraday shield or anything.
I don't think it's
like they ought to have.
I don't think it's a big deal for what we're doing here.
Okay.
If you watch Ham Nation Wednesday night, you'll see me build the EasyDigi interface. And you know, I've been doing a lot of things with Altoid cans here in the last little while. But you can buy these on eBay for $9.95. And Wednesday night I actually solder this, filling in for George, doing some smoke and solder. So I actually build this thing in 10 minutes and actually get it on the air using slow scan TV, but you know, the interface is the interface. And this one I've set it up with the 4-circuit connection to go into the iDevices, and then this can go, and I've had these set up to go into the ICOM HTs, and I can use the box in there to key the radio. So this also has the opto-isolator, so if you get a push-to-talk signal out of the computer, like what's shown here, instead of using a transistor, this has an opto-isolator in it to provide push-to-talk. So that's part of the $9.95. You get it for free, basically. So I'm not using that. I think he is working on a design which will have electronic Vox in here, in case your radio doesn't. And in my previous Ham Nation video, I show you the trick how to allow these things to go into Vox without buying a $30 cable. You need a 47 k ohm resistor on the big connector from the middle, from the sleeve to ground, and then you can turn the Vox on inside the radio. That took a lot of hunting on the internet to find that. So this is one way to generate the push-to-talk. Back when we had serial ports in our computer, you could use the control pins on the serial port, and just about all the software allows you to use those and to control the push-to-talk. And if you're really good, you can build this inside the DB9 hood. I've done it a couple times. We did it for you. Vox. I wasn't a real big fan of this back for a while, but I am using it more and more now because that's basically the only way I can, you know, the phone doesn't have a serial port to generate a push-to-talk in order to key the HT. So I'm starting to use Vox more. I got an email from a guy saying his Vox is chattering, so either the levels aren't set right or increase your Vox delay to keep it on the air. So it's good, it's simple, but don't get frustrated if you use the audio in and out jack on the back of the radio and it doesn't work. Setting up your station for PSK, you have to set up your audio to get it from wherever your sound card is to that application. So usually there's a setup and you can pick the sound card. You need to set up your transmit level so you don't overdrive the transmitter. And if you're using the sound that's in your computer, you got to watch out that you don't transmit "you got mail" out on 20 meters. You listen long enough, you'll hear this and other dings and stuff. So that's one of the nice things about an external sound card interface or the chip built in the radio. You can say for the programs only to use this, and for Windows to use what's built in the computer, which I have not done because all my Windows sounds are coming out through the radio here. So this is what overdriving looks like. What you want to have is a couple nice tracks. So when you just see the two lines, that means he's not sending. It's just sending an idle. And where you see it changing here, this is where he's typing. This guy is overdriving, this guy is overdriving an awful lot. So you start to see the sidebands go out. So if you first start on this, you're not sure how you're doing, you have to look at your manual for the radio, but basically you want to operate in the linear mode of the transmitter. And an easy way to do this, you can turn the audio level up on your interface and you see your power go up. And as you keep turning the audio up, the power stops going up. That means you're saturated. Turn the power level back down a little bit. Now you're in the linear mode. Use the power setting in your radio to turn the power down. Just don't turn the audio down because now your signal is closer to the noise level of your soundboard. So you want a strong audio signal, enough to modulate it properly, and then use the power to reduce your power out of the radio. And people say, well, he's running a lot of power, so he's going to be distorted. No. I've run a kilowatt on PSK and I haven't been distorted. What people don't like is the AGC will clamp down and everybody's displays will go to black. But has anybody worked the Route 66 stations? You know what that is? The last one I needed was the guy in LA, and between Grass Valley and LA on 20 meters, he was skipping over me, but he was on PSK, I could barely hear him. So around went the beam, on went Henry, and I got him. So I got all the stations at that time.
What about duty cycle?
Yes.
This along with slow scan TV are,
Yep.
are basically 100% duty cycle.
Right, correct. So
So-
it's a good idea to turn your power down.
40, 60% of max.
Sure, at least half or whatever, yeah. Slow scan people typically run higher power because that's kind of a analog, and if you get noise, you see the noise in the picture. It's not so much of a problem here. In fact, a lot of slow scan and RIDI people run amplifiers, so they always get through. You don't need to run a kilowatt on PSK. It's a bad boy, but I got the certificate.
Sometimes
when
you do.
transmit, you know, the waterfall goes blank. Is there a way that you can look at your own signal?
No, no. No, so what you do, you ask the guy, what does my signal look like? And if he says it looks good, he probably means it's like that. If he says you're overdriving, then kind of back your audio down and ask him again. Digipan and probably some of the other software, when you're transmitting the idle part here, it'll measure your IMD, your intermodulation distortion. And if you're wide like this, it may be a real high number. And if you're clean, it should be down like -15 to -20. You know, you don't want to be -2, you'll be bad. So.
Randy, say again, how do you read that? I get these reports on IMD. In their brag sheet, they'll say, hey, my IMD is this or that. Where are they deriving that from?
I think he's getting that information back from somebody else, and I'm not sure I would believe it if it's in his brag, because you know, all he needs is one adjustment to change his audio levels, and he can have a different audio level. So it's you know, this is kind of variable. And so you want to check that every time you start to make sure, you know, just check your audio and bring it, you know, make sure. Yeah, so people say, you know, you only get distortion or you're wide if you run high power. This was a guy running a KX3, which is pretty much state-of-the-art radio, but he's overdriving it. The reason I know that, because in his brag tape here, he says he's running a KX3 running 5 watts. Sometimes you can do a screen capture and send a guy a email. Okay, you're asking bands and frequencies. So 20 meters is pretty much the watering hole. There's guys there pretty much 24 hours a day. If the band is crap for sideband, go down to 070, you'll probably hear signals. Oh, yeah. The guys are always there. I've done work on 40 meters. You know, if 10 is open, you know, give a listen up there. You can just Google these and standard PSK frequencies. I do have some PSK handouts here.
And the upper sideband conventions is
Yes.
as well?
Yes, on all bands. Just about for all digital modes except for RIDI. I have some handouts here. I don't know if I have enough, so I'll split them up, and if you know this stuff, let somebody else take them. That is the PSK one, right? Again, tuning in a PSK signal, we saw in the video, you don't turn the knob on the radio. When PSK first came out, before these waterfall programs, you turned the knob in the radio, and you had to watch this little weird phase meter down here, which nobody needs to know about anymore, because all you do is just click on the signal, and it starts decoding. Click and tune. So here's a whole bunch of guys. There's like 1 in there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's at least 15 in there, maybe 16. And if you can take and crank your filter open, there may be a couple more up above there. So in Digipan, this is basically what you're receiving. The signals in the waterfall, this is what you are decoding. You can type ahead, so you can start typing to respond to the guy. And this window here, when you go in the transmit, it shows your text going out. Just about every program has some type of internal logging program that you can use there to maybe import it into your main station log later. So when I gave this a couple years ago, a lot of people were really confused about the tuning and what the audio is and such. So basically, this would be 14070. This is what your dial is set for.
Are these handouts going to be available on
online or?
Send me a message and I'll send it to you. K7AGE@K7AGE.com. I'm kind of overboard on a lot of this stuff, you know. Hey, I get paid by Google now, so this is good. And so anyway, this is the DC, the 0 frequency. If you go up 1 kC, if I transmit a 1 kC tone, this is where the RF will come out of the radio. If I transmit a 2 kC tone, I'll be up at 72. So voice goes all across there. If you tune down to somebody on sideband, you'll see it dancing all across there. That's the spectrum of his voice. You go to the digital modes, now we see the signals here. Okay?
So if you're in that mode, your basic RF filters are really sideband width filters.
Yes.
So there should be a way to cleverly put get a narrow one virtually lined up.
Depends on your radio. Depends on your radio. That's what I liked about my old FT990, because filter selection was independent of mode. So I could start off with a sideband filter and then cut in the 200 hertz CW filter and use the IF shift and move it up and down the band here.
So the 200 hertz filter would be removed from where it would be with respect to the
Yeah.
reference if you were running, say, CW, but you could move
Yeah.
it in there.
All right, with the IF shift, I can shift it up and down here.
So you still keep 1407 as your reference, but you could have the 200 hertz filter up at 14.
Yeah. So you have to play around with your radio, see if you can do that. One of the reasons that's nice, I think I have a slide coming up which shows what happens with the AGC of your radio. When you get a strong station, you'll see the background level here change. So you can see where this guy stopped transmitting and my AGC opened back up again and it brought up the background signals here. So if you're trying to work a very weak DX station, sometimes if you can narrow the filter up and get this guy outside of your passband, it'll reduce this AGC pumping. This is why people don't like it when you run a kilowatt, because everybody's screens just go whomp. I got the certificate.
It's not your regular pattern.
No, done that like once. Okay, where to find more information? Well, Google's your friend nowadays. So go there, you know, the ARL's got a bunch of stuff. There's probably some books you can buy downstairs in the lobby. I have lots of videos about PSK. There's at least 5, which shows, you know, that first one you saw a part of here and how to set up the transmitter and the audio levels and using digipans. So there's a wealth of stuff up on YouTube. That's where I go how to find to do plumbing stuff or whatever. So go search there. So this last video is when I was over to England a few years ago. I dragged along a bunch of stuff and made some contacts. Hi, Randy here, K7AGE in Lyme Regis, England. I'm over here for a week and I've got my portable antenna here set up. And this is a super antenna, MP1 vertical. Has an adjustable coil and a vertical top and 4 ground radio wires that run out. And I just have it with a clamp here to the railing. Inside here I have my little Acer Aspire 1 laptop running digipan. I have my FT817 radio. I have my Signal Link USB interface. I have a little power supply to run the radio. I also brought along my VX8R, which I have been able to use the GPS with APRS here in the UK when we're out traveling around. And let's take a look at the laptop and see what's on the air here. Okay, here's the station calling CQ. RX1, let's see here, RX1AY. I answered the CQ, to a RW3DQC. His name is Andy in Moscow, working from Lyme Regis here, running portable. In Lyme Regis, it's on the coast here in England, running my 817, running 5 watts. Antenna is a portable vertical, your 599599. To operate in England, all I need is a sheet of paper from the SEC. Anyway, you can go online and watch about 20 minutes of this, so I'm going to cut it here. And
What's 599 mean in a digital phone thing?
the copy is good.
Which one is the tone?
RST, the last one.
Well, I know, but I mean, never mind.
It's always 599, always 599.
Is there a way, a standard way, that PSK31 folks measure bit error rate?
Not that I'm aware of. There may be something, but yeah. Yeah, there will be errors. Yeah, there's no error correcting. There's no forward error correcting. There's no handshaking going on. If you get a noise burst, you'll get an error. Yeah.
I have an ICOM 7100, and I'm a bit confused about the signaling that's built in.
Yes.
I have another signaling.
Yes.
Do I need that as well?
No.
So how do I?
It takes a little bit of work to get it all to go, because you need to, and I've done this on a 7200, which I had for a while, which is probably very similar. So you have to go to ICOM and get the sound chip driver and get that loaded in your computer. And you probably also need to go to ICOM and get the serial driver, because we're going to try and do 2 things here. We're going to do audio and we're going to do control. And the reason we got to do control is that I don't think your radio will use Vox from the sound chip that's built inside. So you have to tell the radio to go into transmit. So we're not going to use a logic level of just a push to talk. We're going to send a serial command from the software. And FL-Digi and Ham Radio Deluxe, I know, will do this properly. Send the transmit serial command, which now you need through that USB serial connection to work. So it takes a little bit of work to get it all going. I'm sure the guys downstairs can help you through that. But
Okay, because I couldn't get a straight answer.
yeah. Yeah, there's guys who say, well, I'm going to put a signal link on the radio. Well, it may be a little bit easier, but you don't need it because you've got the sound chip built in.
Well, that's what I thought, but then we couldn't figure out how to work it.
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of Googling, and between the FL-Digi group and maybe, where I find a lot of help on stuff is that there's a Yahoo group for every radio. So go to Yahoo and sign up for the 7100 group, and there's probably people there that can help you.
Thank you.
How do DX pilots work with PSK31? You know, if there's 100 stations calling, do they spread out over the whole
I have seen people work split, and it's usually beyond what most people can figure out how to make their radio do split with PSK. With Digipan, you can lock your transmit frequency. So you can lock that where he's listening, where you think he's listening, and then you can click around. It's kind of backwards from what you want to do. You want to be able to lock the receive frequency and move around, but you might be able to do it with the ABVFO, split in the radio. Everybody's usually on top of each other. Yeah, I've only rarely worked split. And most people are doing it wrong and are all still on the same frequency. The ducks are quacking, so it's 1/4 of. I'll be around. Any more questions? I'm doing my shut up. Tap to stop. Okay. I'm going to do my SSTV presentation at 11. Thank you for coming. I think the crowd is bigger this year here, which is great. Thank you.